everyone, Brian Gottlieb here. And
it's Endell here.
What's up, everybody?
I'm Amy.
I'm Hank.
And we're Goblin Reserve.
I'm Matt Rogers. I'm from PCG.
I'm Craig Krempels.
James White here, listening to the Instant Speed Podcast.
This is the Instant Speed Podcast.
You're listening to the Instant Speed Podcast.
Welcome to the Instant Speed Podcast.
To welcome you to the Living Legend Podcast. Nope, wrong podcast. What's the name of your podcast, Flake?
Not Arsenal Pass.
You're listening to the Instant Speed Podcast, easily the second best podcast for the Flesh and Blood game.
Big shout out. Hopefully Flake's found somebody other than me to be on it this time.
Hit that like and subscribe button now.
Games is the industry leader in both service and unique events in the TCG arena. Whether it's running the largest community-run tournaments for Flesh and Blood or providing service with a generosity that is unique to the Realm Games, you can count on the Realm for an unforgettable experience. Check out their website at realmgamingnetwork.com for details about their $50,000 Flesh and Blood tournament circuit happening all across North America. But check out everything else going on at the Realm, including tournaments for all kinds of other experiences. And just for you, ISP listeners, use the code INSTANT5, that's INSTANT 5, to get 5% off your checkout when you're buying from the Realm. This is ISP 118, brought to you by the Realm Gaming Network. You can go to therealmgamingnetwork.com, and let's get started here. I do want to sort of do a little bit of a PSA here, which is the fact that this was done on location at Tariq Patel's house, and there was a couple little hiccups here and there with the technical aspects. Some of the camera might freeze. So, hey, if you're listening to the audio version of this, no problem. You don't even notice what's going wrong. But hey, the video might freeze here and there, but we do fix it on the fly and we get back to business. So hopefully that's not too much of a distraction. But we do have a giveaway winner. Last week on ISP 117, I asked you, hey, who's going to win the Pro Tour? What is your dark horse selection? And the winner of the $10 store credit at the Realm is Cosmo's co-pilot, who says, I honestly have no hopes for, quite the opposite. I honestly have good hopes for Dorinthia. She seems really powerful after heavy hitters, and I think a good pilot on her is well primed to take everything down. So Cosmo's co-pilot, congratulations, $10 of store credit at the Realm Gaming Network is yours. So give me shoot me a message on Twitter, on Discord, however you want to make it happen. I will get you hooked up. All right, on to the show. This is ISP 118, Tariq Patel, Matt Rogers on location in Toronto. This is the Instant Speed Podcast, episode 118. I'm on location at Chateau Patel, which is exciting because you're here as well for some reason.
I'm in Canada.
I know, and we'll get into that for sure. But I want to talk to you guys again. Tariq Patel, USA National Champion, Canadian National Champion, Matt Rogers, multiple calling wins, incredible amounts of all kinds of stuff.
I've only won one calling.
Was it one?
Yeah, 2 nationals and 1 calling.
Oh, so I got it wrong. So 2-time New Zealand National Champion.
Yeah.
And 1-time calling champion.
Yes, correct.
Have you won a calling?
No, second.
Okay, so you're lagging behind, frankly. Either way, it is Team PCG Pass. We're on the train of talking to teams here, which is quite interesting because I have my own thoughts about like teams, etc. I think teams are great. I think teams are awesome. I like the team culture. You know, everyone helping each other out. But there's like a lot of shade being thrown around a little bit. Not always from teams, also from like Brian Gottlieb randomly. Like, why not? I want to ask you a little bit about, obviously you're here because you're going to be going to Pro Tour LA soon. You also came here because testing with the team and being here on site is also going to be helpful. So Matt, can you talk to us a little bit about, Team PCG Pass, obviously PCG grading, a major part of that, but just what the team dynamic is and, your approach into LA.
Yeah, I mean, for us, like we're just a group of friends that get along, that play cards together, and we figured that, why not put shirts on it and get some sponsorship and stuff. Good for PCG, good for Arsenal Pass, good for us and our group, and that's kind of all there is to it. Like, we're not super serious. We're not gonna, we're not kind of battling to be the best team in the world against like the Wolfpack. There's no rivalry. There's no nothing like that. Honestly, we just like to play cards together. So we're like, why not form a little bit of a team?
You said you're not competing with specifically Wolfpack, but there's probably other teams there now who are taking offense to this. And did
I not name off every team?
You did not name off every team. No.
Sorry. That was the first one that came to my head, right?
It's fair. I mean, Tariq knows very well about the media training that NHL prospects go through to make them the most boring interviews of all time.
Gotta get the puck deep, and we'll work harder next time. And
basically it's like, hey, you
throw that out. I'm just gonna say whatever I want.
You two-hand chop this guy in the face. Yeah, well, we gotta play a good 60 minutes, and it's like, it doesn't matter, just like cruise right past it. It's okay, you'll get there. Having Matt Rogers on location training, how does that differ from training, let's say, through Discord or like the standard ways where everybody's scattered across the world? Having somebody on site to train with, how does that differ, or what's the benefits of that?
Well, one, it's just been a lot of fun. I mean, I think you got to hang out with a lot of the Canadians this last week or so. Even Saturday and Sunday, we've had like draft camp here. People come over to test Class Constructed, and it's a lot more cohesive when you're here in person and you're not on Discord. Because on computer, right, everybody's doing like 100 different things. You got a YouTube video open in the background. In person, though, everybody's kind of focused on one task. Much to my fiance's dismay, I didn't check my phone for like 6 hours yesterday. So, you're kind of unplugged from the world and actually just playing games in the flesh and blood. So, different dynamic for sure, and it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun, and you got to do some other things other than play card games, because Tariq asked me if I wanted to go to the hockey game with you guys, and I had Jordan Kennedy and Elaine Hammondtree were in town, so we were hanging out and stuff like that. Couldn't go to the hockey game, but I saw the picture. The picture was awesome of you enjoying it. You had a good time.
I had a great time. I loved it. Yeah, I've never watched hockey before. I didn't even know how the game played. Like, Tariq's giving me the rundown of like the rules and stuff, which seemed pretty basic, but the hockey game. So I had no clue what to expect whatsoever. Like, I think the first hockey game I ever watched was like 3 days ago on the TV with Tariq for 2 minutes. Like, literally, that's how fresh I went into it. It was an experience. It was really, really fun.
Do you have the Austin Matthews jersey now? Did you? Because I saw you were wearing a jersey. Was that one of yours?
Yeah, one of Tariq's Spurs.
I wore the Austin Matthews jersey. I actually gave him a Felix Potvin jersey.
That is like a callback. And a goalie jersey.
I was hoping nobody would come up to me and ask me about it, because I have no idea.
Felix? You know the cat?
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. We went with our two friends, and he's actually my other buddy who went with us. He's a big Boston Bruins fan. So the entire time the Leafs were collapsing, he's just sitting there and jabbing me the whole time. He's like, "This is what you like, right? This is the kind of suffering that you enjoy as a Leaf fan."
Well, I messaged you. I said, what a perfect game to show Matt, because it was like the quintessential Leafs experience. Like, you gave him the exact experience of what Tariq has been dealing with. I think your whole life, your entire freaking life.
Any sports, I could not believe it. Like, we're up 4-2, a minute and a half to go, ready to pack up, and then we got to see like everything come right down, and then the overtime and all the shoots, and like one person at a time and stuff, and then they lost it.
I don't want to.
Tariq was heartbroken, and I'm just glad I was here for the experience.
I lost my voice the next day, so I was yelling so much I couldn't believe it.
Well, I watched the overtime and the shootout, and I saw that it got to this. I know this is not a hockey podcast, I totally understand, but I have to say every time Tariq's here, when the Leafs like whiffed their 3 and it was down to Carolina, and the sweet, smooth as butter move through the 5-hole, I was like, you don't even see it go in, and I was like, it's gonna come down to it. I was like watching, I was like, if they score, they win, and I'm so sorry. And I was just like, I'm not even gonna. And then I had to message you. I'm so sorry. Either way, welcome to Canada. We're going to be moving to LA in a short bit here. You've got your testing team, you've got Team PCG Pass, but there's got to be some discrepancies, because this is possibly one of the most open metas. And before we even talk about the meta specifically, let's talk about the fact that it's open. A lot of people will complain that an open meta is a bad meta. Some people might complain that, or say otherwise, that the more settled and homogenized it might be, the better it is. I know that you talk about the fact that if it's down to like 3 heroes, that's a good thing. Others might argue otherwise. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but do you have any thoughts about what an open meta versus a very honed down meta might look like?
Yeah, so I think, defined metagames are easier to test for. When you have a very structured A, B, C, A beats B, B beats C, and C beats A, then you kind of know where people kind of perceive, which decks are better than what, and you kind of know where you want to attack from. This Pro Tour has been a little bit different given that, so many viable heroes are viable. So many different heroes are viable. In the Brew class alone, there's 3 different ones. Like you could Risby show up with Reiner, Levia, or even KO. There's like 3 warriors you could play between Dorinthia, Bolton, and Kasai. So this time, I think, most people are just trying to focus on having the best deck possible, as I don't know if any decks really come to light as the de facto, Lexi of the format or Oldham of the format that we kind of saw before our previous Pro Tours.
Matt, your feelings about an open meta? I mean, the fact that there's literally like 10 viable options out there.
Yeah, I'm probably on the different end of the camp. I love open metas. I want the meta to be as open as possible because then the fringe decks can kind of come in there and find some holes that people aren't prepared for, right? So I want to see an open meta. Like the big problem with like 3 metas that have 3 decks is the majority of the time you test some things, you lose to 2 of them, and you just cannot play that deck. Like, it's impossible. Whereas in open meta, you can have 2 bad matchups because there's 10 different decks, right? And you're still like you still have a shot into 80% of the field. So I much more certainly prefer metas where there's a lot going on. It's also kind of a bigger puzzle to solve, which I think is a lot of fun as well.
Well, you got to think that if it's an open meta, it's definitely going to benefit the teams that have 10, 15, 20, or the Wolfpack with 416 people, whatever. But like the fact remains is that when you have more people, you can cover more of those bases. Whereas if it is an A, B, C kind of meta, then smaller teams will have a better option to prepare appropriately. Do you feel like an open meta is going to just benefit the teams that have, a dozen plus people to cover all these bases?
Potentially. I mean, there's also a lot more noise when you work with many people, right? Especially if you don't thoroughly vet, who you're necessarily working with. There can be a lot of noise in the room. If people want to go X, Y, Z direction, and you may not feel the same way. But as long as you're working together cohesively with a group of players, I don't know if there's a huge advantage if you're like 20, 30, or 40 players, as long as you have a system in place.
So this particular meta, there's so many different conflicting viewpoints of what is the best deck. There's the old favorites like Dromai, etc., and then there's some of the new cards and new heroes that have sort of wheeled in, Victor, KO, etc., that are actually, people are like, no, this is the truth or whatnot. Without giving away anything that you don't want to give away, obviously, everybody has their own ideas. This particular meta, who do you think are the early favorites of heroes that are going to be a player in day 2 and potentially populating that top 8?
Do you want to go first, or should I?
For me, you go.
Well, I said it a couple weeks ago when I was asked the question, but I do think Kano, KO will be very 2 prevalent decks. And then looking at the RTN data, Dromai, and then some various flavor of Warrior and Guardian. So various flavors of Brute, led by KO, various flavor of Warriors, led by Kasai, various flavors of Guardian, led by Victor, and then Kano, I think, are the top 4 are what to expect.
That's you were kind of hesitant about the Victor, and again, everyone knows I'm a Bravo player. I love Bravo, but at the same time, I'm very aware that Victor is very prominent. But it feels like Victor just, I don't say auto loses, but has very terrible matchups against some of those other heroes that you mentioned. So when you kind of waffle on Victor Bravo, is it because they're both sort of there, like it could go either way? Or are you kind of waffling in the sense of like, yeah, they're both kind of so-so, but they're like not even in like the stratosphere of the other ones you're mentioning?
Well, I'm pretty comfortable saying that I'm not considering either of those heroes for the Pro Tour, but people will play them regardless, right? there were several metas where I didn't think certain people should play a deck at all, and they showed up en masse. So there will be still some number of Guardians. I think at all the Battle Harns, I think it was the third most represented deck in several of the Battle Harns recently. So people love their Guardian decks. As to whether it should be Victor or Bravo, I think that depends a lot on what you're trying to beat as the Guardian player. If you're trying to be the aggressor in a lot of matchups, like you're expecting a lot of Dromai, I do think Bravo has a definitive edge. If you're expecting a more aggressive metagame full of ninjas and brutes only, then maybe Victor is the better play because the clash mechanic, getting a free extra card is worth a ton of damage. But in matchups where you have priority constantly attacking, you're not really blocking much. So your test of what is it called? Test of strength. Thank you. Or trounces aren't as effective.
How about you? You brought Kasai to Philadelphia for the Battle Hardened. How comfortable do you feel with that hero and how that hero is going to do? A lot of people are such big Kasai fans, and when they came back into the fold, everybody had this big celebration. We're kind of crossing your fingers that she'd be good. That it would be a hero that people can actually play and be proud of. How do you feel about Kasai specifically and into this meta, some of the heroes that Tariq mentioned that you guys are testing? Are there any that are piquing your interest outside of Kasai?
Yeah, well, I mean, that event was the first time I played Kasai. So I wanted to learn the hero. I wanted to play around with it. And I do think Kasai's got legs. I do think that, she's in a great place. She can do some pretty powerful stuff, but also, she's just pretty consistent, which I think is good. But, yeah, I think I'm pretty much in agreement with what Tariq said. I mean, he left out Dash. I don't know. That's what a disservice. But
you just hate Dash. You honestly just don't like it.
I registered for more Pro Tours than he did. I can't say that. I hate the hero.
Well, you're not a big fan of her at the moment, but I mean, maybe fair enough. But I think personally, I've played a lot of Guardian, but I don't think Guardian's in a great spot. But I do think it's going to be played, and it does make it hard for some other decks as well. There's some kind of fringe decks that I quite like in the format that are quite bad to Guardian, right? So yeah, we're in this really cool big puzzled metagame, I think. So I'm mostly in agreement.
Every time I talk about Bravo or Guardian in general, the consensus I typically get is that it's not bad, it's just not in a good spot right now. I don't think it's ever... when was the last time it was in a good spot?
Odom.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's got to be that. It's just it's been a year plus that I've never heard it's
it was in a good spot for a long time as Odom, though, right?
Yeah, I know. It was pretty
But
disgusting.
before and after that phase, I mean, there was also Starvo. He was a Guardian. Just we might all forget that, but he was a Guardian.
Those were dark times, frankly. It's when you just don't want to be admitting to the fact. There was always that time during the Starvo meta where you'd sit down and what are you here? What are you playing? You're almost ashamed. You're Starvo, and they'd be motherfucker. It's just kind of all right, let's just get through this.
The amount of opponents that you sit down from, and they're what are you playing? Starvo, I played against the last 4 rounds.
Yes. Too bad. That's it. But hey, that's card gaming. That's how it goes. That's what happens with
Then all of a sudden, I'm real scared because they're 3-1 or 4 or something, and I'm oh.
Yeah, it's wait a second. What did you figure out?
Yeah.
All right. So we went for lunch prior to this, and we were just talking about some of the facts that every time that you want to give information, people will either trust you too much or not trust you at all, even though no matter what you're saying, it's you say I always tell the truth and say what I mean when I'm writing the thing, and whether that changes from the point of publication to the point of when it matters, that's not on you. But the fact is that for example, I mean, this goes back to the knick-knack bric-a-brac thing where it's funny because Tariq was saying, he's I truly meant it. I'm okay, you don't have to sell it to me.
Nobody can believe that.
Yeah.
Come on.
So how can you address that? Can you
address that for the 25th time?
Not that specifically, but
no, I get it. So
yeah,
in general, as content creator, and this is not just for me because I've kind of taken a step back as my life's become more busy. I've become a big boy. I do my own laundry now, so I have a lot more responsibilities to do. But this is for all content creators in general. When you consume a piece of content, right, a lot of the times even the best players in the world don't know what's going on. When I was asked what I thought the best decks at the Pro Tour were 2 weeks ago, I didn't have an answer. I probably don't have a great answer sitting 3-4 days out now.
Yeah.
When this podcast dropped, it'll probably the eve of or a couple days before. But as of this moment, neither Matt and I are locked on decks. So if I give an opinion, right, it's always in the context of I'm still trying to figure out myself. And I use the word I proverbially as for all content creators, because we're all just giving people the best information we have at the time. Now, in fairness, you see it with a lot of other content creators around Pro Tour time. We have responsibilities to the people we work with, right? If Matt comes up with something or Dokes comes up with something or whoever, and they're not necessarily content creators, it's not necessarily fair to them that we publicize their data as well. So there's also that fine line. And I think a lot of people will take what we have to say and use it maliciously and be like, there is this ill alignment towards the general population. When in reality, and I think a really good way to put this is, it's too hard for me to manipulate everyone when I myself don't even know what I'm doing yet. Because I don't even know if what I'm doing is optimal. When I figure that out, then maybe I'll worry about manipulating the rest of you. But we're only 3 days out, and I don't even know what I'm going to play yet. So maybe I'll figure my own shit out before I start worrying about your guys' shit.
All right. I mean, it's a good way to put it. I mean, let's be real. Like, the opposite end of this is like when people are on Twitter just saying that Kano is like the worst thing to ever happen to Flesh and Blood, and then the week before I'm like, well, I thought last week it was Frostbite, and I thought the week before that it was this and that. It's like every week something is going to suck or whatever, and in this case, like every week something's going to feel like it's the potential best, and you have deadlines and you have to sort of execute on them. And if you come up with something creative that you feel like, hey, this could do well, and then suddenly everybody's on it, texts against it, worries about it, and then you have to do like 2 weeks to adapt to it. Then it's not there. Like, that's just the reality of things, I guess, and that has to bleed into your testing when it comes to Pro Tour as well. Mm-hmm. Like what I've seen you play and what I hear other people play and other teams and what everyone's doing, when I'm casting matches, I want to know the process. I want to know from where they started from to where they ended on that deck and why they chose it. So I like to follow along of the journey of you started on this here, you went to here, and this is where you got there. It's good for me and it's good for insight during the tournament itself. Prior to that information is locked away. It's not for anybody else. That said, I mean, there's going to be a lot of deviation from where you think you're going to where you end up. Can you talk a little bit about the process of being able to? I'm going to say the process of letting go of ideas that you thought were good. And I'm not saying this again. I don't know what you guys are on. I don't know what you guys are testing. But what I'm saying is that there has to be an idea of when you guys got together to start practicing for Pro Tour. You probably went and took these detours and these tangents where at the time you're like, these got to be good ideas, and ultimately in retrospect you're like, what the hell? Why we just wasted 48 hours? What did I don't know anything, by the way. So clearly I'm touching upon
so
something.
Real.
Is it? I know nothing.
This is the last week. Yeah.
It ties back with what you previously mentioned, where I told you this at launch. Like, I could literally tell you what we've been playing, give you a deck list, and nobody would believe us. Like, they would think you're fully in on the PCG Pass manipulation of the world, and nobody would believe us. But I'll let Matt take this question because this is a great question for you. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this tends to be our process. Is that like there are a few people in this team, myself certainly included in this, that really want to just find some utopia, like perfect way to attack the metagame and do something completely different that nobody's prepared for. So every Pro Tour we go through the process of just like pushing these decks and spending a lot of time testing them in all of these different matchups, and then discard them and then move back to meta, and then oh no wait, there's another quick idea comes into somebody's head, and we go back to this deck and then move on from it and back to it and move on from it, and tend to just waste a lot of time really.
I will say I do think the process is not without its benefits. Like, we're working with a lot bigger of a group than just the PCG Pass group this time. We have a lot of people that have put a lot of work into some very like solid metagame decks. So when ideas don't pan out, we always have something very concrete to fall back into. And I think that's part of the added benefit of working with a bit of a larger group is that we have something really rock solid to fall back onto even last second.
So those processes that you go through to get get to these things? Or like those ideas that might pop up? You say like sometimes we just revisit a deck because something clicks and it's like, oh, this may help this idea.
This is potentially a fix to the problem that we were having, and then it's like, okay, completely rebuild the deck around that fix, and then do it again, and then you find a different problem somewhere else, and then you're like, oh, I have to discard it again. But then 2 hours later, oh wait, but this could be the fix, and then you rebuild it around there, and then the problem is because like you have to change the deck so much to fit these plans, you end up missing that it creates a big hole for you somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of is this never-ending process. I think this last week we've spent a lot of time on a fringe deck about 4 or 5 times. I'm 100% guilty, but
are you the patient zero of this thing?
I'm pretty much patient zero of this. But I think as of last night, I've fully discarded it. So this Pro Tour, I'm not going to end up on max like last Pro Tour. Like I actually managed to...
I would hope so, because it's Monday ahead of... You guys are leaving your flight's in 2 days, right? Yeah. Like, so eventually you're going to have to settle in on something and start like grinding. But that spark that you guys have, like you're talking about like, okay, you revisit a deck and you change pieces and eventually like through the 5th or 6th iteration, like this Ship of Theseus thing, like is it even the same thing that you started with?
Completely different animal. I mean, completely different. Like the amount of orientations that we've gone through with this deck is just,
so
funny.
But you said that this, like again, without naming anything about the deck, because I honestly do not know what it is.
I would name the deck, but there's still potential that one of the people on our team plays it. Like I've given up, but there's still 1 or 2 people that are like, I think I'm still going to do it.
So there's still like a 6th season reboot on this potentially.
Yeah, there's still potentially a 6th season reboot.
We're trying.
I'm sure they'll be off it tomorrow, but I'm not 100%.
So what sparks this? Is it legitimately one card that like comes into your mind, or one interaction, or one, is it an approach to a matchup that kind of lets you revisit? Is a new card that comes into play? Is it a mix of everything to kind of revisit these ideas that you had that you think are done and dusted, and all of a sudden, like what sparks that revisit?
Yeah, usually it's just a strategy. So maybe like we're testing a completely different matchup and we're like, hey, this is like this plan into this matchup is really working. Maybe we can adapt that plan into this other deck that we discarded because it wasn't doing that plan into this matchup. And so then it's like, okay, play a few different cards that allow you to operate kind of like this deck that is beating that matchup, but yeah, the problem is like it's never without sacrifice. Like whenever you fully change a plan into a matchup, it does eat into your slots, right? And so that it will make other plans and other matchups worse, and it's just about finding the balance of how much worse and whether it's still favored or not, or where you're at and what you want to give up.
What I loved was your facial expression throughout most of this and like your reaction to it, because you're like, it seems to me like that it's garbage and that it's like...
I have a lot of fun doing this, and I drag Tariq through the coals.
I like brewing, and my friends know that I like brewing, but in Flesh and Blood, and I've said this before, my only criticism on the game as a whole is that some things are very mathematical, so you can look at ideas very readily and be like, I don't know. And so that's, I'm kind of I don't know. I don't want to say pessimist, but anyways, I've wasted my fair time looking at amulets from Everfest and all these weird cards, and I've tried to make them work. So, I'm right down there with you sometimes, but we're 3 days out at this point, so I think we gotta lock something in.
Some people kind of misconstrue pessimism and realism to a degree, and like they can honestly just kind of meld together at a point. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. At the same time, the creativity and like sometimes great ideas are spawned out of fever dreams sometimes, and other times
I'm the absolute eternal optimist. Like I'm just like complete and utter optimist, and Tariq kind of has to be the adult in the room sometimes and bring us back down to earth. That's his job. It is what it is.
All right, so we're not gonna get into the weeds of what the hell that deck was. That it's like on season 6.
We might still play it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's still 2 days. It can happen.
We might. Who knows? We're gonna end up being on Riptide, and it's gonna be in top 8, and it's gonna be Matt Rogers with the biggest grin on his face.
Oh, it would be.
The T-shirt that says "F you, Tariq." Like, yeah. It happens. We don't know. But again, we're coming up to it. Do you guys ever have a point where you say, like, okay, we draw the line in the sand here, like we're in the 11th hour, we have to sort of lock it in? Or do you guys...
I don't, but Tariq does.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same way. At a certain point, you have to, I don't say just get reps with that particular deck that you're playing, but at the same time, you just have to sort of clear away all the distraction and focus on one thing.
Alright, yeah, so yesterday, Tariq instigated basically a sit down and like, look, Matt, we're 3 or 4 days out from the Pro Tour. I know you're really close. I'm proud of you. You gave it all you got, but we need to be real now. I can't let you play this deck. You have to give it up now. Like next Pro Tour, I promise you, we'll look at it again. We'll go through it again. But I'm telling you, as a friend, like we need to move on. You need to give it up. That was the conversation from yesterday. So.
Yeah, we're 3 days out now. I think a lot more equity would go into one of the very solid decks we have, just tuning the sideboard and coming up with our matchups, and we'll revisit this for Amsterdam.
I'm gonna have to side with Tariq on this one. Yeah. I'm also
any sane person would.
I'm a creature of habit, of routine, of security, of knowing what's what. Like when I travel somewhere, I like to know where like the Uber's gonna pick me up, where I'm gonna be, all this stuff in advance. I don't want to show up and be like, okay, like, well, we still got time, no, like, are you locked in on anything yet?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I agreed with Tariq yesterday, and I locked out of what I've been spending.
Oh, so you've been locked out of something.
Yeah, so I've been locked out.
Open meta, you're like, this one deck of 15.
Nobody was considering.
Yeah, it's not the ABC thing where I eliminated 33% of the options here. Okay, listen, that's fair. I'm sure there's going to be people out there being like, all right, I feel much better about my chances now. Because Matt Rogers is still in the sandbox at the 11th hour. But if anyone can do it...
Not like 3 days. It's not the 11th hour. Come on.
Yeah, plus like 5 hours they're going to be on a plane. That's a lot of quiet time to think about stuff,
exactly,
right?
There you
yeah,
go.
You'll be all right. That's fine. How confident are you?
I think we have a couple of really good decks. So
I think, yeah.
Whatever we end up on,
I can
think
just
we're
jump
gonna
on any one of probably about 3 really strong decks on our team at the moment. So I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. To be honest, it was almost more right for me to try to find something out of the box because I had such solid fallbacks.
But that internal politicking around these decisions, obviously you guys are all adults, you can choose whatever the hell you want to play, you specifically, but at the same time, there's got to be a certain amount where you kind of have like an intervention, right? Like you said, like you sat them down and said, we got to make a decision, but at a certain point, you have to sit someone down and say like, this is inherently, objectively the wrong choice. Like, can we're going to explain it to you why you shouldn't do this. There's other options. Do you ever have those types of situations where you have to almost like talk someone off a ledge in that regard?
No, because most of the people we team with they want to win as well. Like Matt is not unrealistic. His ideas have merit. So until they're tested, we don't know, right, whether it's true or not. And he knows himself, like once he starts testing it, whether it's good or not. And it goes the other way too. If he sat down and was winning everything, I also wouldn't be like, this is dumb, like we're just not going to do this. I would be like, okay, teach me the deck in 3 days. So it goes both ways. He's responsible enough to know when his ideas aren't working, and it goes the other way too. We're responsible enough to know that when he breaks it, okay, we all got to get on board.
So 4 national championships between the two of you. The team is stacked. There's a lot of excellent players on this team. There's a lot of accolades. But there's no Pro Tour wins on the team. Yep. And that's not criticism. I'm not saying that. I'm just wondering in terms of how the Pro Tour measures up to a national champion. Being a national champion to me is like it's an honor. Like I'm so fiercely Canadian. I love where I'm from. Being able to say that I'm the best in my country or representing my country is a incredible thing. And like I'm very, very there's no secret. At Worlds, when Aaron was playing or when Yuki was playing, I was very much like in their corner. Like that, and I'm not gonna hide it. It's just the way it is. And I know that some people might say that's irresponsible. I don't give a shit. That said, when it comes to a Pro Tour, how hungry are you for this? Does everything else mean nothing? Like when you're at the Pro Tour in that top 8, like if you win that Pro Tour, does it just say like, no, this is all that matters right now?
Well, there can only ever be one winner for an event. So I think to go into any event saying like I need to be the winner is a bit unrealistic. obviously we all want to be top 8 and as close to the winner as possible. And we've all had close shots. Worlds in 2022, you lost like your win in, right?
Yeah, I came 10th.
10th. I lost my win in Baltimore. I think Nick or some of our Hayden too came really close at Worlds.
Well, that same Worlds he was 9th.
Yeah,
he was
so
9th, I was 10th.
I mean, we're doing the right things in terms of like if any of us like want to win one. Obviously, do we expect to win one? I don't think anybody can expect to win a Pro Tour, especially with the level of competition now. But we're doing our best to play at a high level, and we're all like extremely consistent. I think with our team, and then I'm going to say the larger group, because the Canadians I feel are part of our team now too. Like definitely. Aaron, Dilks, Joel, Sean, like all the guys that we're working with across the board, Jacob. I think like everybody's like for every major event we've been to for almost 2 years, like one of us have been in the top 8, which is just like fantastic results overall. We have a really good process, and it's more about focusing on just doing the right thing in practice and coming up with good decks and solid strategies more than like we need to spike this one event. Like all of our ego is defined on winning an event. None of us think that way. We don't even talk about it truthfully.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, because how much of that is just because of the fact that you guys have such a laundry list of accolades and success in the past, where you say that this doesn't define us. I feel like there's other teams or other entities or groups out there who are like, look, we've been grinding so hard, we don't have a win. At what point are we just spinning our tires, or like we have to go back to the drawing board? Do you feel like you guys have an extended runway because of the success that you've all individually had or collectively had all together, that you don't, like you said, we don't need to win it to feel justified and safe? Like, do you guys feel like you've got this kind of this extended margin for error, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess you can look at it that way, but like for me, I think for me it's a little bit different because I'm less hungry than some of the other guys. Like, mainly because I just enjoy the process. Like, the funnest thing for me is like testing a format out and like doing these like draft camps and testing things in the lead up to the Pro Tour and figuring it out, and then getting to the day and being like, hey, did we manage to unturn some stones that other people didn't? Did we figure things out properly? Like, and then how it all plays out. Like, I'm probably less hungry than Tariq is for a first place Pro Tour thing. I don't know, like, but like by that I don't mean like you're super hungry for it, but I just mean I'm probably less than most people. I just enjoy the fun of the game. So
yeah, no, I'm definitely we're all hungry to win. Like I was up at like 4:30 in the morning the other day testing games against Yuha in Europe. So we all want to win, but to say that we have like a runway of accolades, so it's kind of less.
Sure.
I don't know. We don't really talk about like results going into an event. It's more just we have fun doing it, so we test because we think the game is fun.
Right. But I mean, having that kind of, I feel like there's a little less pressure. Like, I've spoken to other people who mentioned like, hey, we've been working as a group for so long, and we're kind of, and I just flat out said it, like, at what point do you guys just say we need to reevaluate? Like, we either need to shake it up. I'm not necessarily quit the game or anything like that, but at the same time, maybe like change an approach or whatever.
We're friends first and a team second. So like I have a great time and my friends do well because they're my friends. It's not like I expect them to do well and I go into an event. Like, one of the most favorite things to do is get like split equity with your friends or team, so that like you have extra skin in the game. So when they do well or you're doing well, they're like on the action with you as well, because your EV is still the same. So to me, it's more just fun, right? Like, real life is real life. It's boring. Like, we do it. It's monotonous every day. But like, I don't know, these events are fun, and the whole process, like Matt said, is the fun part to it. So the events and results part itself is secondary. Like, we don't really focus on that or even talk about that.
So the friend aspect first, I think it's important as well, because it also invokes a lot of trust amidst the teammates as well, and like just trusting people's opinions and the fact that you can be honest with one another. When you sat him down and said, "Get your head out of your ass! What the fuck are you doing?" Like, that has to be a part of it. Can you talk a little bit about the team dynamic outside of the testing and things like that?
It's a lot of shit talking in a very friendly way. Everybody has like such unique personalities. Like, you've met Jacuzzer and you've met Dilks.
Yes.
You've met Nick.
Sean is
you've
a
met
mascot.
Sean. We're just such a amalgamation of funny, weird personalities that it's just We're just a lot of fun. I don't know what to say.
I've gone to lunch with Sean, Jacuzzi, like all these people. Like, it's hilarious. I've played cards here. I came here for your Christmas party or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we were just playing Magic in the basement or whatever, and it was hilarious. Just everybody was, like you said, a lot of the talk might be like we're here to test, but then all of a sudden these tangents and these deviations of nonsense or whatever. You're right. Like it's the personalities are kind of crazy, and you kind of are part of this from afar. But like I've been here, so
I'm always here. I'm always in the mix. Like this is the first time to Canada, but like so many times for events with this group. Like it's
all right.
We all travel, right?
So I want to wrap up the team aspect before I want to talk a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you're starting a big can of worms here. See, especially with Tariq saying like we have the best group. Like, the most fun group.
Yeah,
right? The Wolfpack are going to come out and be like, nah, we're all fun because Brian Gottlieb's going to make a tweet saying like the dev group is
Yeah, well, I mean, they have like an entire the Wolfpack has enough people to like put on their own like Lollapalooza. Like they can totally do that. If you guys want to put out like a music video and prove how cool and like much more fun you are than like Team PCG Pass, that's great for the community. It's not it's not an adversarial thing, but maybe it is. But I do want to talk a little bit more about PCG grading. But before I do that, I'm going to ask you guys each some quick questions about like some rapid fire stuff about your team. So I'm going to ask you guys, and you guys can just shout it out when you say it. Who is the funniest on the team?
Jacuzzi, yeah.
Just like he also laughs at his own jokes the most, I think.
He also sets himself up the most. Like it's just
Who is the most I guess just brutally honest?
Stokes, yeah.
Okay, all right. Who has the wildest ideas for deck brews?
Nick.
Matt.
Oh, damn it.
Matt and Nick.
Yeah.
Who is the most stubborn when it comes to their ideas?
Me.
Tariq, maybe?
Yeah, me.
I don't know. Probably not.
I don't know if anybody's super stubborn.
Yeah.
We all argue our point pretty intensely, but we're all willing to move off of it once we're proven wrong.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, honestly, I don't think there's very much stubbornness in our group.
Who is the best player amongst you guys?
I don't know. We're all good.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you guys are all good, but like, is there one player just even amidst yourselves that you just like, I just can't beat this guy?
Aaron's pretty good.
Aaron's very good.
Yeah.
Dokes has been playing amazing the last couple
lately,
months.
Dokes has just been on point.
Yeah, I really think Dokes will do really well at this Pro Tour. Nick he's been solid for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you just go through our team and everybody's just super solid, so it's hard to say.
Take that, runaways.
Not Jacuzzi. Yeah. That guy's loose, man. He's looser than a goose. Holy shit.
Yeah, we can lock a couple of people out.
Yeah.
We just can't lock anybody in.
Who is the team like parent? Like the team.
Tariq.
Yeah. I'm the responsible one.
That's another way to put it, for sure. Who's most punctual or least punctual?
Most is Dokes.
Yeah,
Easily
Dokes.
Dokes. Least punctual, Nick.
Yeah, probably Nick. Yeah.
Who is the pickiest eater?
Jacuzzi, yeah.
Nuggies, yeah. Jacuzzi.
Oh, is he like a Tendies bro?
Yeah, he's a zoomer.
Well, yesterday we ordered 4 of the same flavor pizza because he he couldn't eat anything else.
Yeah, he only eats meat. That's it.
Okay.
So we ended up with 4 meat lovers pizzas. What?
All in all, I mean, like, it sounds like you guys are just like so tightly knit, and that's a good thing, obviously, for any type of team dynamic moving forward, especially the Leafs. But you guys are successful. I mean, there's like definitely a deviation there. All right, let's talk about PCG grading.
You want to talk business?
Well, I kind of want to talk business, and you can just sit back and be like, fool, you absolute fool. But ultimately, I think we want to talk a little bit about, I mean, it might be old news and it might just be, done and dusted altogether, but ultimately there was this whole conversation regarding Rudy and like buying out of particular games and this and that and whatnot. Can you describe a little bit about your relationship specifically with Rudy and what his relationship is with PCG?
So Rudy brought out the American company. So PCG, Premier Card Grading Limited, is the company that owns the brand. And then what we do is we license out to other companies around the world to basically run our brand within their place of the world, from their communities. And Rudy brought that license. So he brought out that company, or brought out 69% of it with a few other investors and stuff. Basically he owns America PCG. So, I mean, Rudy's not, working in there grading your cards day to day or anything like that, but he owns the operation. He owns the business there.
And you guys, you guys have now expanded. You guys are originally, obviously, New Zealand, right? Is where you're the main office is, but now you're in Florida, you're in the US, and you're in multiple other locations. So where exactly is PCG currently?
Yeah, so we're New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia, Germany, UK, and Florida.
Holy crap! Okay, that's pretty good.
This one?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, by the time this publishes, maybe there's more. Who knows? Ultimately, that said, I got to go visit you guys in New Zealand, and while this is going, if you guys are not listening to this on YouTube, the video, I'll be showing some of the videos of the cards that are getting graded. I brought to you some of the cards that get graded, which were awesome. Some of which were ultimately hyper surprising. Like my first ever box of Welcome to Wraith, I pulled a rainbow foil tunic.
Yeah.
I treated it like an absolute bastard. It was like, I felt so like it was never in really a box. It was in a sleeve and tossed in a bag. I knew that it was a good card, but I'm like,
it was always in a deck box, right? It's not like you actually
not all the time. Like there were times, dude, where I would just have it in a stack, a brick of cards. I'd put it in the middle and then just throw it in my bag. And it's miraculous that it came back the way it does. But I saw the intricate detail in which the people working for you are grading this, like the systems, the apparatus.
You saw all of the flaws and stuff all being noted down.
Everything. Like I was there to witness my cards get graded, a couple of them, and the intricate details, like all of the looking through the magnifying glass and all the other nonsense. I don't know the names of the equipment, but ultimately there's some crazy stuff that you guys use to make sure that this is all done appropriately. And I think I asked you this before, but again, the fact that you guys are expanding so well, I want to ask you a little bit more about the scrutiny that you guys have when you're grading something, because I've seen cards out there and I've seen discussion where people are like, don't get it graded here, it'll come back a 9, get it graded here, it'll be a 9.5 or even a 10. I want to ask you guys, like you specifically, about your outlook on that kind of approach to how you guys grade and how severe you are with it.
Well, I think I'm very, very proud of our consistency. I think that's the whole brand, right? PCG is a consistent grading that if you submit your card here or any office in the world, you should get the same grade. If you resubmit the card, you should get the same grade. Like, I think that is what we've built the system on, and that's why in terms of scrutiny and stuff, like every card, every floor is identified. It's all graded in a dark room under lights, magnification, Cyclops microscope, everything like that. All of the floors are identified of the card, right? And then everything goes through 2 sets of eyes. So there's grading, and then there's also checkpoint. So a senior grader does checkpoint, which is basically looking at all of the things that have been identified in a real harsh environment in the grading room, and assessing it for severity, I guess.
Well, I mean, that was part of it. Was like exactly when I was surprised at, let's say, the tunic. Like they walked me through it. They said, no. Like here's all the pictures, all the stuff, and then the card that I thought was going to be easily a 9.5. I was like, no, this is my pride and joy. And they're like, it's an 8.5, and here's why.
It's got these print lines and stuff, like things that you haven't caused to the card, but are just a matter of fact, and they do affect the condition of the card. So
and again, like this isn't an advertisement or anything. I just want to say that this is something where I have never had a card graded, and I wanted to see. I'd never felt the need to have a card graded, but then suddenly I had these cards that I was like I cherished, and I was like, I'm never gonna play them, and I want them on display. I might as well have them done to the nth degree, and I was like, let's let's check it out. And you graciously walked me through it. Or, well, you brought me to, you were on conference calls the whole time. Big shot. But some of the people that work for PCG walked me through the whole process from start to finish. The entire hour that it took for the couple cards to get graded, through the checkpoints, through the slabbing and everything else, the engraving. I saw all of that. If you check the YouTube video for this, you'll see that as well. I guess the easiest question here is, how is the business doing? Obviously, I think it's doing well. You guys are expanding, but talk to me about the next phases of PCG.
Yeah, we're doing exceptionally well. I couldn't be happier, to be honest. It's a lot of fun through this growth phase and through the phases and basically opening new offices and expanding and stuff. We got some pretty fun stuff in the pipeline this year. As well, which I can't wait to reveal more of it. I think recently brought out the Players Slab, which took a long time to develop, and I think that's been an absolute hit. All offices saw huge spikes, and those numbers have continued to be pretty high in terms of submissions for Players Slab, and that's been a lot more than just a Flesh and Blood thing as well. It's been across the games. Obviously Flesh and Blood is the biggest because you can do all your equipment and stuff, but a lot of people, from their Commander and Magic to their Avatars and Heroes and all these other games and stuff as well, are utilizing this new slab. So that's been a lot of fun, and we're working, we're rolling out sports later this year, which has been hard. There are a lot of cards, there are a lot of sets, there's huge catalogs, and different thicknesses and different things. Like, we've had to develop new slabs and everything for that as well. But it does seem like it's going to be a hit. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to kind of take us to the next level of a grading company that aren't just solely focused on TCGs.
We got to get him a game-used Felix Potvin card with the jersey patch on it.
If he even knows who Felix Potvin is. I was praying somebody would come up to him and start a conversation and be like, how do you feel about Felix? And he's like,
yeah, where does he go next to Freddie Anderson?
You didn't even prepare me for it as well. Like, you gave me this jersey of, I assume, some old school player, and you wouldn't tell me anything about him. I feel like you were setting me up.
I was hoping it would happen, honestly.
You also did him dirty by giving him a goalie, so you couldn't even fake your way through.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you had a goal. You could be like, oh yeah, he scored all those goals, and he'd be like, they'd look at you like a donkey. Yeah. Absolutely. Getting into sports cards, dude, good luck. I don't know. I don't even want to touch that. I used to collect Canadians hockey cards, and I still have a bunch of them, and I'm like, maybe I'll give you a few just for fun, just to have a crack at them. The other thing I want to ask you is that if you have any plans into getting into Star Wars Unlimited, and I know that, yes, I get it. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I love the game. That said, I do have some stuff that I want to get done. But
We're definitely grading Star Wars Unlimited cards. I think we've already added it to the catalogue, or we're just about to. So I'm overseas at the moment. I'm not back at the office, but Rob's heads up all of that sort of stuff. But if we haven't added Star Wars Unlimited to the catalogue, it will be within the next 2 weeks.
Sweet, love it. That said, you guys. I have Fab Slabs. I use them. They're great. It's awesome. My 7.5 Anathos swings like a true beauty that way. Ultimately, though, you guys will unfortunately not be at PTLA.
Yeah, so we're not going to be doing on-site at Pro Tour LA just because our American office is struggling a little bit with the demand at the moment, and with this sorcery promo that's coming up that's like 2,000 cards or whatever, they just are not in a position to get a bunch of submissions or fly staff out here out to LA or whatever for the weekend. It's just a little bit too full on, and that office is still quite new, so we're not going to be at that one, but we've already sorted out a stand for Amsterdam. We are going to be at Amsterdam. We're going to be at Worlds when that's announced. We should be hopefully the aim is to be at every Pro Tour and Worlds from now on.
And these are the types of appearances where it's like, if you give in the cards on the Friday morning, they'll be ready on the Sunday night.
You get them back on the Sunday.
All right, that's great. And I think that's awesome. I would never recommend something that I wouldn't believe in myself, and I think that card grading is something where it's if you got something that you really want to protect and that you really care about, I did it, and if I do it, that's I never do shit like that. So like, I think it was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for the trust.
No, but like part of it was also the fact that like I mentioned earlier, like there was a lot of people where the discussion literally like around, let's say, Lorcana cards is like, no, you guaranteed a 10 if you send it here, and then that's like, that seems like you're cheapening the whole process.
Yeah, well, I mean, these other grading companies, they've just been around so long, and they went through a huge boom just after COVID, so they kind of just got away. Like, I mean, it was in their best interest to just, I guess get a little bit looser on their standards and give out more 10s and stuff, because they just had such demand. They had to cut the grading time way down to be able to get some out the door. There was a point where PSA had a 1 million card backlog, right? So, it was, these grading companies kind of had to just get loose and look at the card, cool, that grade, that grade, and try to get these cards out the door, because there was no other way to catch up. So that's not a position that we're ever going to get into.
I will say this though, like when one of your graders was going through my card, like it got to a point where they're like, well, there's like this. I'm like, no, there's not. Like, what are you talking about? What are you making up here exactly? Like the scrutiny level was pretty intense, and to the point where I was like getting offended at the point. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, look right there under this light. I'm like, all right, fine. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right. But I was like, this, like, F you. I'm like, I really wanted this, like, Anathos or this, like, this Briar, like, to be, like, a little bit better, but okay, it's not, fine, I get it. And, freaking you honest bastards. All right. That said, Pro Tour this coming weekend. Last thing I want to kind of just, I suppose, end on is, the first question is confidence levels for each of you. And I know that you guys are still sort of in the labs working on things, but moving into LA, how confident are you?
Like out of 10?
Out of 10, you can give me a letter grade, whatever you want to do.
Okay. I'm going to answer this with a story, because I think this personifies this perfectly.
Yeah.
In Baltimore, at the Players Banquet that always happens Thursday evening, I went to it and I saw Matthew Folks, who actually ended up top 8ing in Baltimore. And we were talking a little bit, we weren't testing together, but he's like, how do you feel about your deck? And I'm like, yeah. It could be better, but I think I'm in an okay place. How about you? He said, I have the best deck in the room. It is absolutely broken. I am a lock to top 8, which he did. We were sitting next to each other, literally table to table in the last round, both playing our win-ins. It turns out our decks were about 1 or 2 cards different. So it's hard to say, because certain people have very different confidence levels, and I am so jealous with certain people's levels to say I have the best deck in the room and I am going to crush. But I always see, in my opinion, I see like things that could go wrong, and it's hard to ignore that and just say I have the best deck. So my confidence level is always 50-50. Hopefully I do well. I don't know. Maybe things will go wrong and I get a bunch of bad matchups in a row. Who knows?
Man, yeah, that kind of come down to like the gem, right? To a certain degree, and the part. What about you, Matt? Like confidence level right now?
Okay, so Tariq's 50-50. I'm probably like 65-35, which means we're actually the same, because I'm way more optimistic.
So we're adjusting for the Matt Rogers optimism level.
Yeah. Well, I'm the Tariq realism.
Tariq realism, optimism, and at the end of the day, it's all just going to be even keel, 50-50, and see where we get at.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so that's where you guys are at, and I'm sure a lot of people with the volatility of the meta, etc., have their own ideas of what a top 8 might look like in terms of a hero spread. I don't know if you guys want to take a shake at what you might think the top 8 would look like from a hero perspective.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think we're gonna have 2 Dromos into the top 8. I think we're going to have 3 Brutes. I think we're going to have a Guardian in there. I'm picking it just 1 Guardian. And then I think we're probably going to have, definitely a Kano will make it. And then probably a Warrior. That's where I'm at.
Okay, so 2 Dromais, 3 Brutes, a Guardian, a Kano, and a Warrior.
Yeah.
Fairly similar. 3 Brutes, 2 Dromai, 2 Kano, a Warrior. What am I at? 3, 2, 2, 1. And I don't know. Let's go.
I think you're out of juice there. Yeah.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Dash, a mechanologist. Come on.
There you go.
All right.
3 Brute, 2 Kano, 2 Dromai, and a Warrior.
And then, but no mechanologist.
No mechanologist.
Come on.
No.
Okay, that's fair. And if you were to pick, last question is, if you were to pick one name, or okay, let's say this. I'll even broaden it a little bit. What's the final table look like to you in terms of names of players? Obviously, and you cannot pick you can't pick Tariq, you can't pick Matt Rogers, or each other.
Like player, I think is going to do well.
Correct. Like, what do you think the 2 players at the final table might be?
Like hero-wise or person-wise?
Person-wise.
I think Matt Dilks. I think, like I mentioned this earlier, but he's been on fire. He's played 100 drafts and 100 games with his deck. And I think it's his time, so I'm choosing.
If there's ever an event for Dilks, it's right now. Yeah, like he's just
How about a non?
He's leveled up like so much.
And who's his non-PCG Pass opponent?
This is how much thought he put into it.
No, that's perfectly fair.
Can I just take the easy option and say Brody?
All right, Brody.
Dilks versus Brody.
Dilks versus Brody in the finals of the Pro Tour.
Possibly the most completely opposite in terms of personalities you'll ever see.
Yep.
All right, well, that is it. We do have these. We did get some fortune cookies from lunch. So I think that we should crack these and sort of end the podcast in that way and maybe talk about the omens that are being said to us. But I do want to say thank you again for being on the show, for letting me into Casa de Patel. And I will see you guys shortly in LA for sure. But let's crack these bad boys open.
All right.
What does the future hold for you, Matt?
Matt will go first.
I'm going to go first. All right.
Yeah, again, this is...
But if you read them, they don't come true, right?
No. Those are birthday wishes, I think.
Oh, okay.
If you say your birthday wish out loud, what do you got?
Chat will fact check us, right?
Oh, well, that's not English, so...
You got the French one? Try to read the French one.
I'm going to create enemies.
He parlays en français.
I speak French, so...
All right, you can read this.
No, I want you to read it, and I want to see... Okay, we'll do this.
Sorry.
If you read the French, I'll try to understand what you're saying and explain it, and we'll see how right I am.
So bad at
Matt, come on.
You gotta do it
If
for
you
content.
did the rap, you can do this.
Yeah, you can't even ask me to do this after that. No,
You
I'm
did
out.
say
I'm
we are
out.
even
I'm
forever.
out. We're even forever. You are both sociable and charming.
Oh,
true, actually.
that is pretty good. Yeah.
very true.
All right. I don't know how that's gonna help you.
I mean, thanks. Like,
What do you got?
A financial investment will yield returns beyond your hopes.
oh no!
All right, YOLO to Bitcoin.
Dude.
Oh, that was
All right,
Are these
final,
things real?
final table confirmed, or are you talking about the house you bought?
I don't know. We're gonna find out.
All right, let's see. Mine says, "You are now on Team Wolfpack." Oh, shit, is this right? No. You'll accomplish more later if you take time for yourself. Okay, I don't have time for that right now. So I got to put this podcast out and then jump on a plane. So yeah, friends, dude, thank you so much for this, for everything.
Nice.
And good luck in LA.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much to our sponsors at the Realm Games. You guys are rock. So go to realmgamenetwork.com and also to the Patreon supporters. Thank you very much. I'm going to put a more extensive video of the grading process. You're going to see lots of clips of it, obviously, that you just saw now, but the more extensive, the whole 9 yards of that will be available for Patreon Tier 3 supporters on Patreon if you go to patreon.com/InstaSpeed. Thank you so much.
Can I say the line?
You may say the line.
You're not learning if you're losing.
Crack open a new one of these because you messed that one up. You want to say it in French? No? All right. You're not
Learning if you're losing.
We'll just end on that. We'll see you later. Thank you so much.
Well, I was